Undercover Millionaire orders steak. 7-year-old waitress's note haunts him forever. It was just another ordinary night at the greasy diner on the edge of town when a darkly clothed figure walked in, his aura commanding attention from the moment he stepped through the door. The bell above jingled, a discordant sound cutting through the smoky air, as patrons turned to catch the glimpse of a man whose presence felt overwhelmingly powerful, yet oddly mysterious. This millionaire in disguise had a reputation, and it sent a shiver of excitement through the tired servers and bored customers alike. But little did they know, the most haunting part of his night would come from the smallest, most innocent source. He clutched the leather menu. Sizing up the options, the 7-year-old waitress, with her pigtails and wide eyes, bounced up to him with a smile that could melt steel. She had no idea who he was, or that he held countless fortunes in the palm of his hand. She just saw a man who needed a good meal, her innocent trust sparkling like the diner's flickering neon sign outside. It was as if fate had tangled their pathways, pushing them into this moment where the weight of the world faded to nothing and was replaced with a heartfelt exchange over steak. The tantalizing smell of sizzling beef wafted through the air, making his stomach growl. But it was her voice, clear and simple, that captured his heart. "What is your favorite?" she asked, eyes gleaming with unfiltered curiosity. He chuckled, charmed by her spirit and delicious youth. Before he knew it, he was caught in a web of memories, a flashback to his own childhood dreams and the insatiable hunger that came not just from food, but from connection. Then it happened. As he took his first bite of the juicy steak, an envelope slipped from the little girl's apron pocket and drifted onto the table. The $1 million facade shattered as he picked it up, heart racing. Inside was a note scrawled in her childlike handwriting. "I hope you're happy. I wish my mom could smile like you." The words hit him like a slap, a jolt of reality that left his chest tight and his stomach churning. A wave of regret washed over him while the weight of that innocent note lingered like a ghost at the edge of his mind. Was it the hunger for happiness that haunted him, or the realization that he had lost sight of the simplest joys? The hum of the diner faded, and silence enveloped them like a dark cloud, only punctuated by the clatter of silverware and the murmurs of other customers sharing side glances of confusion and concern. All at once, he felt the eyes of the room, each soul recognizing the gravitational pull of the moment, but none daring to say a word. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. His mind raced. What did this little girl know that he didn't? As he set down the note, he could feel the ghost of its message burrowing deeper into his psyche. What had he sacrificed on his journey to success? Desire, greed, hunger, they had all overshadowed the most important thing, the pure joy of being seen and understood. Just as a flicker of hope ignited in him, he looked up to catch her gaze, but the little girl had vanished into the back. Where did she go? The door swung shut, and in that fleeting moment, it felt like the whole world had shifted. Was she a figment of his imagination or something more? He sat frozen, his heart thumping, consumed by the haunting echo of her words. What would happen next? The diner around him swirled with noise, but his mind whispered only questions. Questions that begged to be answered. How would he confront the truth behind that little note? What shadows lurked in the corners of his past? And was he brave enough to face them? The silence hung heavy as he breathed in the aroma of the diner, still engulfed in a haze of memories he had tried so hard to bury. His mind was a battlefield, clashing thoughts competing for attention. The note, her words clawed at him. "I wish my mom could smile like you." What had he been doing all this time? Wrapped up in the trappings of wealth while others struggled? Before he could untangle the mess in his head, the oppressive quiet was pierced by the yapping of a nearby dog, startling him from his trance. The little girl's absence gnawed at him. She had vanished, but why? He felt an unusual mix of urgency and uncertainty creep into his chest, pushing him up from his booth. "Excuse me," he called out to the waitress standing further down the aisle. A middle-aged woman with tired eyes turned to him, the corners of her mouth pulling into a concerned frown. Where did the little girl go? Annie? She just went to take a break, the waitress responded. Her voice low and wearied, he nodded absently, the name hanging in the air like an unanswered question. Annie. He could not shake the feeling that she was more than just a child in an apron. She was a messenger, one who needed to be found. Pushing through the clattering tables and the buzzing chatter of the other patrons, he made his way to the back. The diner's cramped corridor led him to a storeroom filled with dusty boxes filled with expired goods and old promotional posters. The smell of stale grease clung to the air, but he pressed on, driven by the flickering remnants of hope. Annie, he called out, his voice tinged with a mix of desperation and urgency. Are you in here? With each step, shadows danced along the walls as his heart beat faster. The world felt electric, time stretching and folding. Could she somehow have disappeared? Annie, he shouted again, louder this time. Nothing. As he turned to leave, he felt a tug at his sleeve. Startled, he looked down. There she was, small, wide-eyed, and peeking around the corner, her face a mix of fear and intrigue. What do you want? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tension surged between them. I just wanted to see if you were okay, he said, slightly breathless. That note. It got to me. I want to help. Annie's expression shifted. She bit her lip, as if weighing a dangerous decision. You can't help my mom. She doesn't need help. His heart constricted. But she is sad, isn't she? Her silence was heavier than the look of disapproval on the woman's face behind him. Sometimes it's hard to share things that hurt, she said finally, her gaze darting away. I just wanted you to be happy. The words struck him like lightning. Here was a child who understood more about emotional struggles than many adults. I'm not as happy as I seem, he confessed, feeling the weight of vulnerability. What if I could help you both? Annie squinted, her unsure gaze searching his face for sincerity. You're not just a customer, are you? An unsettling realization crashed into him. Part of him had hired a disguise to escape himself, but here was this girl drawing him back into the responsibility he had pushed away. She may have seen through his act, but what would he do about it? Before he could answer, something caught Annie's eye. Look, she pointed over his shoulder, her voice rising with excitement. He turned, pulse racing. Had someone entered the diner? A shadow was lurking in the doorway, tall and imposing. The bell rang again, the sound slicing through the tension like glass shattering. The familiar face stepped forward, a cold smile creeping across its lips, the kind of smile that promised trouble. Just in time for dinner, the figure drawled, eyes scanning the room, landing on the unsuspecting girl. Annie, stay close, he said instinctively, sensing a danger far worse than he had imagined. The stakes had just been raised exponentially. What was he going to do next? Would he stand and fight against the shadows lurking from the past, or risk everything to protect the girl whose innocence challenged his very existence? The air in the diner grew thick with tension as the figure stepped fully into view, a tall woman draped in dark clothing, her presence both commanding and chilling. The stark fluorescent lights flickered above, momentarily dimming as if recoiling from her sinister energy. The waitress's tired eyes widened, and for a brief moment, the buzz of the diner faded, leaving nothing but an electric pulse of fear echoing in his ears. Annie's hand slipped into his, her small fingers trembling. He felt the chill of her fear, mirroring his own, and instinctively pulled her closer. Who are you? He demanded, hoping to summon the strength to confront the darkness in front of him. The words came out stronger than he felt. Such a curious little hero, she replied, her voice smooth and dripping with mockery. Playing savior to this little girl? How noble. She glanced at Annie, her eyes narrowing maliciously. You really don't know what you're getting into. Get away from her. He took a tentative step forward, a protective instinct blazing within him, even as adrenaline coursed through his veins, urging him to flee. But he couldn't abandon her. At this moment, she was everything. The woman chuckled softly, a sound that sent chills racing down his spine. You really believe your wealth and charm can shield you from the past? This place, she gestured around the diner, it's a refuge for the lost, just like her mother. Annie squeezed his hand, her eyes searching his for an answer to a question unvoiced. What did she know that he didn't? A deep sense of urgency pulled at him, pulling him deeper into the mystery surrounding this girl and her mother. What do you want? His voice wavered slightly, barely masking the fear that laced his words. We want the same thing. Actually, the woman replied, her gaze steely. Her mother needs to wake up and face the reality she's buried in darkness. And she turned her eyes back to him. You're the perfect catalyst. Hurt flared within him, a torrent of confusion and anger. You don't know me. You have no idea what I'm capable of. But even as he said it, doubt punctured through the bravado. But I do. You feast on your own comfort, while others grapple with pain. That's the real danger of your life blindness to the truth. Her lips curled into a predatory smile. But I know exactly how to open your eyes. This girl? She's a key to unlocking more than just a door to her mother's heart. The diner patrons who had been engrossed in their meals began to look up. Murmurs buzzed around the room, and he felt every pair of eyes weighing him down. Would anyone step in? Or did they all feel the impending storm brewing? Annie tugged on his sleeve, her voice barely rising above a whisper. I'm scared. He knelt, bringing his eyes level with hers. I'm here. Will protect you. You have to trust me. With that, he stood again, steeling himself for what was to come. If her mother needs help, then we'll get her help. We can face whatever truth is lurking in the shadows together. The woman's laughter filled the diner, sharp and chilling. You think you can save them? Save yourself? It's not that simple. Before he had a chance to react, the figure lunged. He braced instinctively, the world blurring as he wrapped his arms around Annie and ducked, his heart pounding. The world slowed to a crawl as he felt the rush of wind and the anticipation of chaos descending in the next heartbeat. Everything changed. Beyond a curtain of fright, a scream cut through the air, a sound that would change the course of their night forever. What was waiting behind the next door they refused to open? Could they unshackle themselves from the chains of the past, or were they destined to remain trapped in a cycle of darkness? In that moment, the answers blurred further away, like shadows receding into the night, leaving only desperation in their wake. The diner's fluorescent lights erupted into chaos as he sensed the figure crashing against his shoulder, a whirlwind of darkness and malice. Panic clawed at his throat, but his instinct was to shield Annie, to make her feel safe amidst the turmoil. Get off, he shouted, glaring at the woman who had disrupted their fragile world. She rolled on the ground, her long coat revealing an unsettling glint of something metallic. Before he could process what it was, he felt Annie's small figure press against him, her trust an anchor in the rising storm. Is this how you help? The woman laughed, a chilling sound that coiled tightly around his heart. She rose to her feet, brushing off her clothes, unbothered by the fall. You think you can fight me? You are so naive. Her dark eyes held a mix of menace and amusement, and he could almost hear her thoughts weaving through the air. You've no idea, have you? He shot a glance around the diner. Everyone was frozen, mouths agape in horror. A man in a plaid shirt was shaking his head, muttering something about crazies, while the waitress stood, eyes wide, behind the counter. Fear had turned the once casual diner into a pressure cooker of dread. He could almost taste the apprehension. With an immediate shuffle of her arms, the dark woman threw out her hands, palms facing him. Do you see her? She demanded, gesturing to Annie, who was still clutching his sleeve, wide-eyed and quivering. You need to wake up to the truth. All of this, her hands swept dramatically around the diner. This charade won't last forever. Truth? He spat back defiantly. What truth? The only truth here is that you're a threat to this girl. Every word felt like a battle cry as he stepped forward, shoving past the diner's patrons, drawing on his fear like fuel. The distance between them shrank under the weight of his rising anxiety. Then, suddenly, the woman's expression shifted. A flicker of something darker crossed her face, almost like a shadow passing over a sunlit field. You're right, she said, her voice dropping low, almost hypnotic. What's buried in the past often finds a way of resurfacing. It's not just Annie you need to worry about. What do you mean? His heart raced as the weight of her words pressed in on him, ticking like a time bomb in the back of his mind. What happened to her mother? A flicker of recognition crossed her face, one that twisted into something unholy. Oh, her mother isn't lost, darling. She's hiding. The words were like ice cubes sliding down his spine. And your comfort won't save you from the storm she's created. He turned back to Annie, who was looking up at him with those trusting eyes. How could he shield her from this nightmare? "Annie, stay close," he whispered, desperation tightening his chest. The woman stepped back, a graceful retreat that felt deliberate and sinister. "You thought you could protect her, but you're only drawing the darkness closer." The diner felt suffocating, and the murmurs of the patrons fell away into a deafening silence. Time seemed to slow, and he could feel them all, watching, waiting. It was as if every breath held the weight of unspoken fears. "Don't you see?" The woman leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You could be the reason her mother faces the truth, or you could bury her deeper into despair." Heat surged through his veins, an overwhelming tide of anger and fear. "You're a monster," he shouted. The last syllable echoed like a gunshot, ringing out through the diner as he prepared to face the woman once and for all. Yet, just then, an unexpected noise interrupted the tension, a loud crash from the back of the diner, reverberating through the glass and rattling the silverware. As every head turned, the woman smiled slyly. "Let us see how far you're willing to go, shall we?" Little did he know, the night was just beginning, and the threads of fate were about to unravel in ways he couldn't foresee. What other truths lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered in the murky depths of his connection to Annie's mother? Would his life, and Annie's, survive the storm that was brewing? The crash echoed through the diner, bouncing like a silver bullet off walls painted in muted pastels. Waitresses gasped, customers froze mid-bite, forks suspended in the charged air. He felt Annie's small hand grip tighter around his arm, grounding him as adrenaline pulsed in his chest. "Stay here." He barely recognized his own voice as he moved toward the sound, heart pounding in sync with the reality dawning around him. Every inch stepping forward threatened to deepen the chasm between safety and chaos. The woman danced back into the shadows, her dark coat billowing like storm clouds. "Oh, just wait," she taunted, her tone silky yet edged with menace. "You'll wish you hadn't," he asked. Ignoring her, he navigated through the diner, eyes darting toward the source of the noise. In the back corner, a table lay overturned, chairs askew like a battlefield after a skirmish. A figure was sprawled beneath it, groaning in pain. "Are you okay?" He rushed over, trying to see if he could help. It was an older man, grizzled and scruffy, whose face pinched with pain. He winced as he tried to sit up, shaking his head. "Just a clumsy old fool," he murmured, his eyes haunted. Then he looked up, really looking at him. "But it's not me you should be worried about. It's the girl." "What?" Panic gripped him. "What do you mean?" Before the man could respond, Annie's voice floated through the haze, small and trembling. "Daddy?" Every muscle in his body froze. He turned sharply, dread flooding his veins. Annie was still standing by the counter, confusion flickering across her face. "No, stay back." He rushed toward her, but the woman swept in before he could reach her, her smile spreading wide like a shadow across the diner floor. "See," she crowed, her voice a lilt of dark delight. "Even the blind can see where this is headed. Get away from her." He roared, loud enough that it startled the patrons, and they flinched in unison. Transformation whirled in the air as tension folded tighter around him. Annie's eyes flared with fear, but she didn't move away. "I want to go home," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The woman tilted her head mockingly, dark hair cascading around her shoulders. "Home? Why would she want to go back to a place filled with secrets? Wouldn't you rather know the truth, little one?" He stepped in front of Annie, shielding her from the sickening spectacle. "Enough games. I won't let you use her. She's just a child." A fire burned inside him, mixing fury with something deeper understanding. He felt the weight of Annie's past anchoring him, tangled with each of her mother's choices, each buried evil inching towards the surface. "Her mother's secrets are her own," the woman hissed, glaring at him with a fierceness that could slice through steel. "You really think you can protect her from that?" The diner's air pressed down heavy, fueled by despair. He felt the patrons' eyes boring into him, judging and confused, caught in their own turmoil. It was suffocating, a pressure cooker of dread boiling over in a heartbeat. Annie stepped around him, small but fierce in her own right. "Why can't I see her?" The woman smirked, a twisted glee lighting her eyes. "Because the truth is terrifying, Annie. It's what you don't know that will break you." He stared, frozen, realizing the battle within him was not just against this woman, but against the darkness creeping closer to the only bond that mattered. "Annie," he pleaded, trying to filter out the noise. "You don't have to listen to her." But the woman laughed, the sound grating like nails on glass. "Oh, sweet naive protector. She'll find out soon enough. The past is always watching. You both play your parts splendidly." As the laughter echoed in his ears, the fluorescent lights flickered overhead, plunging the diner into darkness for a heartbeat. His heart raced, and then he saw it shiver down Annie's spine that mirrored the tremors in his gut. What was waiting in the shadows? Just outside the diner, the screech of tires and the glow of headlights pierced through the darkness. He felt a shift in the air, as if the world was holding its breath. What now? He thought, terror gnawing at him. Would they face the truth tonight, or would the storm only widen the cracks in their fragile existence? He took a deep breath, prepared to embrace whatever came next, ready to fight against the rising tide threatening to engulf them both. Because in that moment, he recognized the battle ahead was for more than just survival, it was for the souls entwined beneath a web of secrets. The sudden roar of engine noise crescendoed outside, slicing through the tension like a knife. He turned back to Annie, who stood frozen, her wide eyes reflecting the strange headlights that flickered through the diner windows. Just as another tremor shook the tiny figure beside him, the door swung open, a gust of cold air swirling inside, throwing the stale diner air into chaos. And then they came three men bursting in, their movements urgent, brimming with an electric anxiety. The leader scanned the room, his eyes locking onto the woman in the shadowy corner like a dog finding prey. "There you are," he shouted, voice slicing through the dusty air, tension pouring from every syllable. Annie shuffled closer to him, breath hitching as fears spilled from her like a shattered vase. "What do they want?" she whispered, her innocent voice trembling with uncertainty. They must have been looking for her, he thought, a knot tightening in his gut. His instincts screamed to shield her even tighter, but it was as if the very walls of the diner had conspired to pull them apart. "Get back, Annie," he said, urgency layering his voice as he positioned himself before her. He felt the weight of her small body pressing against his. Her pulse beat like a drum, syncing with the panic rising in his chest. "Be careful what you say, Jack," the woman cooed from the shadows, amusement cutting the tension. "They're the ones who will lead you to the answers you dread." Ignoring her, he focused on the three men. Their demeanor shifted the air around them, heavier than any ghost or demon. He could see the weariness etched on their faces, men who had danced with danger one too many times. The leader stomped forward, his gaze never wavering from the woman. "You're coming with us," he demanded, the authority in his voice palpable. "You think you can just vanish after everything?" The woman laughed, a sound that rocked the very foundation of the diner. "Oh, sweet boy, you still don't get it. Nothing is as it seems." "Shut up," the second man snapped, eyes darting around, as if searching for allies among the diners. "We're not interested in your riddles." Fear knotted tighter in his chest as he heard whispers ripple through the patrons. He could feel their collective anxiety, hanging in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. He thought about the older man still sprawled on the floor. What did he know? The lingering dread held him prisoner, keeping his feet rooted to the ground. His instincts screamed for him to act, but the stakes were higher than he had prepared for. In the shadows, the woman stretched her body, a predatory grace that twisted his fear into fury. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, boys. You want her? You have to deal with him first." Her pointer finger directed towards him, the lightest indication, yet heavy with implications. "Why don't you turn around, hero?" The leader taunted, a spark of menace lighting his eyes. "Let us see if you can protect her when the walls come crashing down." His body coiled tighter, every sense shifted on full alert. The shadows danced mockingly as the pair faced off, backed by a gathering storm of secrets, lies, and the mounting tension of the diner around them. "Annie, listen to me," he began, but she interrupted, her small voice fierce. "I'm not afraid of them, Daddy. I want to know." "No." The denial erupted, a desperate plea against the wave of truth closing in around him. Dark threads of fate tightened, weaving a tapestry of danger and revelation. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the diner. A crash followed by a yelp shattered the moment, drawing every eye toward the source. As they turned, Disbelief hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. What now? He thought, dread swelling like a storm cloud. Fearful eyes turned toward him, and he recognized something buried deep. Was he ready to make the ultimate sacrifice for Annie's past? As the diner's walls began to tremble, the question loomed larger than any truth that might unfold in the shadowy depths. What lay hidden within that crash? What truths would they be forced to confront as everything unraveled before them? The crash reverberated through the diner, a sound like shattering glass combined with bodies colliding. The patrons, who had been holding their breath, now gasped collectively. The shock was palpable, swirling like the wind as Jack turned toward the rear of the diner. Annie's grip on his shirt tightened. "Daddy." Her voice cracked, raw with fear. "Stay close," he murmured, casting a quick glance at the three men, their attention split between him and the shadows behind the counter. The leader's face twisted with frustration, but simmered with curiosity. "What is back there?" He stepped back, allowing his two companions to position themselves flanking him, each casting a wary glare into the murky depths of the diner's kitchen. Another crash sent a wave of adrenaline through Jack. It was clear that whatever was happening, it wasn't he aimed at them, but they were still dangerously close to the storm. The woman in the corner watched with a smirk, delighting in the chaos. Jack's eyes narrowed on her. She knew something. "Get over here," the leader commanded, his voice low but underscored by threat. He pointed toward the kitchen and advanced cautiously, each step an assertion of his power. "Do you think you can scare me?" The woman taunted, swinging her legs casually, as if she were innocent. The flickering diner lights played over her face, illuminating the defiance in her smile. "Enough games," shouted the second man, and just as he reached for her, the door to the back swung open. In that moment of distraction, Jack surged forward, adrenaline pushing him past the fear that clawed at him. He knew he couldn't just stand by, so he moved to protect Annie. His eyes tracked the doorway as someone lurched into view, but it wasn't a threat. It was a child. A small boy stumbled into the diner, face smeared with dirt and shock etched into his features. He looked around, wide-eyed and breathless. "Help!" he gasped, voice cracking like glass under pressure. The diner erupted into confusion. "What happened?" Someone yelled as coffee mugs rattled on the tables. The tension escalated, transforming into sheer panic as patrons began to rise, eyes darting from Jack to the boy. The men exchanged tense glances, their earlier composure rattled by the unexpected arrival. "Get that kid," the leader barked, snapping back into control. Jack instinctively stepped in front of the boy, heart racing. "What did you see?" he demanded, crouching low to catch the child's gaze. "They're coming," the boy cried, trembling. "They had masks. They took my sister." A chill swept through Jack. "What sister?" His voice dropped to a whisper, startling the frantic diners into silence. "She's lost, in the woods where they took her." The child's eyes streamed with tears, reflecting a mix of terror and hope. "You have to help her." Anger surged through Jack like electricity, the boy's plea igniting a fire in his chest. As he looked into the eyes of the child, he understood its weight. Behind the boy's fear lay a truth that reached into the shadows where Annie's past intertwined with this unfolding nightmare. "Are you going to help me?" The boy's voice cracked. The three men were on the move again, closer with each heartbeat, intent on seizing control. Jack squared his shoulders, every fiber of his being responding to the urgency of the moment. Even amid the chaos, the woman in the corner chuckled softly, a sister lost but a daughter found. "This is where the real story begins, isn't it?" Jack shot her a piercing glance, the puzzles of their lives mixing into something darker than he ever imagined. "Do you realize what you've done?" He shot back, his voice low and deadly. But the answer was lost in the sudden flickering of the diner's lights as they began to extinguish one by one. As the last bulb dimmed, a chilling silence replaced the confusion, leaving only the sounds of his pounding heart and Annie's shallow breaths in the air. The world outside felt miles away. In that darkness, everything shifted. Secrets were on the brink of revelation, and Jack felt the impending tide of danger close in. He whispered to Annie, "Stay right by me. Whatever happens, I want to let them take you." But just as resolve settled, another sound cut through the thick silence, a distant, hollow howl that echoed like the wail of lost souls seeking refuge. Jack's heart raced. What was out there? What was coming next? The darkness wrapped around them like a thick blanket, muffling sounds and warping shadows. Jack's heart pounded like a drum, each beat a reminder of the stakes at play. He could barely see Annie beside him, her small frame trembling, but he could sense her fear, thick as smoke in the stale air. The howl echoed again, sending chills racing down his spine. It was an unearthly sound, like something out of a nightmare, creeping closer. Jack forced himself to focus on the boy. What did you see? He asked again, pushing through the panic rising in his throat. There were 3 of them, the boy sobbed, shaking. They had big dogs and they were laughing. Jack's gut twisted. Laughter? It felt wrong, sinister amidst the chaos. Did you hear where they went? No, there were too many trees. I was scared. The boy's chin quivered, tears spilling onto his dirt-streaked face. Annie squeezed Jack's arm, her small fingers surprisingly strong. Daddy, we have to find her, she insisted, her earlier fear shifting to resolve. Around them, the hushed patrons stared, eyes wide and breaths held. The men at the forefront scanned the dark room, calculating their next moves. Their adrenaline was palpable, threatening, yet oddly anchored by the weight of what Jack knew was at stake. Suddenly, the leader stepped forward, his voice low and menacing. We can all walk out of here. But you, he pointed at Jack, you're going to help us. Jack's stomach dropped, the shift in power settling heavily around him. Help you with what? Do you think we were just going to sit around while some brat escaped with a warning? No, we have things to deal with, and you're going to clear our way. What if I say no? Jack shot back, instincts surging. He could feel Annie's small fingers tense against his arm. She was scared. And now, so was he. The leader stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. Then we have a chance to make an example of you. Choose wisely. Jack took a breath, eyeing the boy, then the leader. The weight of the child's sister lost in the woods bore down on him. I'll help you, but I'm getting that boy's sister back first. Laughter erupted from the leader, slicing through the darkness. You think you can play hero? You have no idea what you're up against. Before Jack could respond, the lights flickered back to life, a harsh, blaring fluorescent hum that exposed the faces in the diner. Terrified onlookers, wide eyes, and drawn faces. And then, a distant crashing sound broke the tension, echoing from outside. The leader's laughter faded, replaced with a frown. What now? He spat, a mix of frustration and annoyance washing over him as he turned toward the door. A sense of urgency slammed into Jack. We need to go now, before they get here. Annie clutched the boy, pulling him away from the approaching menace. Their world began to crackle with impending chaos. The men hesitated, clearly torn between their own survival and the utter disbelief of the moment. In that instant, reality fractured. Beneath the surface of fear lay a hidden truth. Annie's past and the sister's fate tangled in Jack's mind like vines choking a dying tree. Move, Jack yelled, and that was all it took to break the moment. They surged toward the kitchen, Jack leading the charge with Annie and the boy following closely. But just as they reached the doorway, the back door swung open with a deafening crack, revealing a figure standing in the threshold. Stop right there. Jack's heart stopped. The figure, a woman cloaked in shadows, face partially hidden, spoke with a voice that sent shivers down his spine. Who are you? Jack demanded, stepping protectively in front of Annie and the boy. The woman stepped forward, revealing a determined glare. I'm here to help, but you're running out of time. As she spoke, the ground shook with heavy footsteps drawing nearer. What's coming? Jack whispered, fear gnawing at him as the shadows drifted closer. But before the woman could answer, the sound of barking dogs erupted outside, deep growls followed by a cacophony of chaos. The world spun. Jack knew they had to move. Holding Annie and the boy tight, he took a step into the unknown, the 10th minute ticking away like a countdown to disaster. What had he stumbled into? The answer was out there, lurking, and with it, the truth about Annie's forgotten past. The ground vibrated under their feet, the subtle tremors becoming harder to ignore as the woman's warning echoed ominously in Jack's mind. We're not safe here, he insisted, pulling Annie and the unknown boy closer. The light flickered again, casting strange shadows against the walls, and for a moment, he felt like he was in a horror movie trapped with nowhere to run. What should we do? Annie's voice cut through the chaos. It was steady, surprising. Jack looked down at her, his tiny girl suddenly a beacon of courage amidst their shared dread. "Trust me," he whispered, eyes darting to the door where the sounds thickened. "Trust her, too," the woman urged, her voice a harsh whisper. "If you want to get out alive, listen." Before Jack could respond, the din of growls outside intensified. The dogs' barks were frantic and piercing, clawing at the layers of calm pretending to exist in this nighttime diner. They spilled into the air like a storm, threatening to drown them all. Jack's instincts screamed at him to run. "Follow me." The woman rushed forward, pulling the heavy kitchen door open with surprising force. The interior was dim but filled with the acrid smell of grease. Distant sounds of metal clanking echoed within, and Jack hesitated. "Where are you taking us?" he asked, doubt creeping in. He could feel Annie's anxious grip on his hand tighten with every heartbeat. "To the back exit." "We need to move fast," she replied, urgency radiating from her. He took a deep breath. "Okay, stay close." They followed her into the kitchen, where the fluorescent lights buzzed, flickering like a strobe light, giving the place an eerie glow. Cooks froze mid-motion, eyes wide with fear, like fish caught in a net. "Out of the way," the woman shouted, and without thinking, Jack surged forward, leading Annie and the boy after her. "Don't look back," he barked, forcing the children to focus ahead. With every step, he felt the oppressive weight of unseen eyes watching them, waiting. They reached a door at the far end, an exit he hadn't noticed before. The woman slammed it open, and an icy wind rushed in, carrying the wild sounds of chaos from outside. "Go." She ushered them through. Jack stepped hesitantly into the night. The world outside was a frenzied blur. People were running, their faces distorted by fear as dark figures pursued them. Shadows darted between the trees. Men and beasts alike were closing in. He barely registered the cold, the rough pavement scraping against his shoes. He could hear Annie's heavy breathing, see the boy's wild eyes. "Where do we go now?" he asked, glancing back toward the door, half expecting it to burst open. "The edge of the woods," the woman said, her voice firm. "We have to find a safe place to regroup." "There's a path." Jack nodded, adrenaline fueling him. He faced the dark border of trees ahead. "Stick close," he yelled and broke into a run, dragging the others with him. As they sprinted toward safety, the bark of dogs split the air again, sharper this time. It felt like they were being hunted. Annie stumbled slightly, and Jack turned back. "You good?" "I'm okay," she panted, determination etched on her face. The boy was next to her, his eyes flaring with fear. "They're gonna catch us." "No, they won't," Jack insisted. Every ounce of hope in him centered on that promise, filling him, urging him to push harder. They dashed into the shadows of the trees, branches reaching out like skeletal hands, whispering secrets of those who had walked there before them. His heart pounded in rhythm with their footfalls, each sound echoing in his mind like a countdown clock. Then the reality sunk in again. What were those dark figures? What were they capable of? Suddenly, the woman stopped, pointing to a narrow path veiled in darkness. "This way." She dashed down it, Jack and the kids close behind. The path twisted and turned, with roots snaking through the ground. The sounds of pursuit faded slightly, then surged again. Sniffs, growls, and low shouts pierced the night. Jack felt panic rising like bile in his throat. What if we're too late? The woman shot a glance. Over her shoulder, "You don't understand. Time is running out, for all of us." They pressed deeper into the wood, the moonlight casting erratic shadows as they turned sharp corners. Jack's heart raced, but with every frantic step, a desperate urge gripped him, the need to protect Annie, to shield her from whatever was lurking in the dark. And then, a low howl shattered the silence, resonating through the trees like a death knell. Jack froze, skin prickling with dread. What was out there? The chase wasn't over. What had they awakened? As fear grasped at his throat, Jack realized they were closer to the truth than ever. But the question was, would they survive long enough to uncover it? The darkness wrapped around them, thick and claustrophobic. Ahead, the path twisted into thick brush and thickets, but Jack had no time to hesitate. Every instinct screamed to forge ahead. "Keep moving," he shouted, urgency spilling from his lips like sweat. Annie and the boy followed, feet pounding against the earth, hearts echoing in rhythm with the impending chaos behind them. "Don't look back," Jack urged, danger scrabbling at the edges of his mind. A sudden rustle broke the stillness. 3 figures emerged from the shadows of the trees like specters from a nightmare. Jack's heart contracted as the leader of the trio, his face twisted with fury, caught sight of them. "This way!" Jack shouted, yanking Annie and the boy off the path, darting into the thicker brush nearby. The underbrush snagged at their clothes, but adrenaline fueled their escape. "We have to reach the old cabin," the woman urged, her breath heavy with urgency. "It's just ahead." They dashed through the trees, the sounds of pursuit fading, but not silencing the pounding in Jack's chest. "Annie," he whispered fiercely, "stay right next to me." Panic radiated from Annie, but she nodded, gripping his hand tightly, her small fingers a reminder of the stakes. As they stumbled into a clearing, moonlight unveiled a weather-worn cabin, its porch sagging under the weight of time. It could be a sanctuary or a trap. "In here," the woman commanded, ushering them inside. Jack hesitated only a moment before ushering the kids across the threshold. The door creaked shut behind them, sealing out the night and whatever prowled in the darkness. Shadows danced against the walls, flickering with the dim light from a battered lantern half illuminating the small space. The woman turned, urgency pulsing from her. "We don't have much time," she said firmly, locking eyes with Jack. "Once they realize we're gone, they'll come for us." "Who are they?" Jack demanded, his breath ragged. "What do they want?" Her expression softened. "They're not just after you, Jack. They're after Annie too. There are ties that bind your destinies, deeper than you know." Breathlessly, he turned to Annie. "What do you know, honey?" he prompted gently. But Annie's face clouded with confusion, unsure between the harsh truths and her innocence. I just want my mommy," she whispered, tears glimmering in the dim light. A lump formed in Jack's throat. He had to find a way to protect her. "The truth is the only way forward," the woman said softly. "You have to face it, Jack, and it's going to hurt." Annie's mother is caught in a storm of darkness. She needs to be saved. Only you can do it. Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps crunched on the fallen leaves outside, chilling them to the bone. "They're here." Panic mounted, churning like a storm inside him. "What do we do?" he rasped. "Listen," the woman said, her voice fierce. "You must trust me. I'll do everything in my power to help you reach her, but this will test your resolve. You must confront your fears and be the father Annie needs. Will you fight?" Jack nodded, adrenaline coursing through him like fire. "I will," he declared, a fierce determination igniting something deep within him. If there was even a chance to save Annie's mother, he had to take it, no matter what it cost. "Then it's time," the woman urged, stepping toward the door. "Prepare yourself." The door creaked open, and the night painted a stark picture. The shadows loomed closer, dark figures edging in. Jack gripped Annie's hand tighter, his heart thrumming in sync with the threat that licked at the edges of his resolve. Then he saw them. The 3 men, their twisted smiles hungry, the tension thick enough to slice through. "There you are," their leader shouted, voice laced with venomous triumph. "Thought you could escape?" "No one's escaping anything," Jack growled, stepping protectively in front of the kids. "You want her? You'll have to go through me first." The men laughed, a sound wrapped in intimidation, but Jack felt an incendiary wave of courage. The growing bond he had built with Annie surged within him, carrying the strength of love and responsibility. He'd fight not just for her mother, but for every shred of innocence that still flickered in the dark. "I'll protect her at all costs," he declared, heart swelling. "Bring it on." Without warning, the leader lunged forward, and chaos erupted. Jack grabbed a rusted metal bar from the ground, swinging it with all his might, feeling power rise from deep inside him. He wasn't just fighting. He was reclaiming everything he had lost, a connection forged anew. As fists flew and shadows merged in a mass of desperation, Jack's thoughts turned only to Annie. He would never let darkness win. He would face whatever haunted their past because the price of failure was far too steep. Fueled by determination, he felt the rally of hope blinding him against the shadows. And with that, he was a father standing tall for his daughter, ready to conquer every ghost that threatened to tear them apart. The night was raw and promising, but everyone had a role to play. In the end, Jack would not only save Annie's mother, but find redemption in the battle against the storm and in embracing all the love he had held back for far too long. "Stay with me, Annie," he shouted amidst the chaos, the voices of the past converging on their fragile reality. They would face their fate, together, and anything less would not be acceptable. Together, echoed the woman, an echo of solidarity. As fists clashed and resolve simmered. Jack knew this was just the beginning. And he was ready. In the final flurry of blows and revelations, Jack took a deep breath, gritting his teeth against the darkness, firm in his resolve. The sun would rise again. This he would ensure. Hope surged through him like flames pushing back against the shadows until not even their vestiges could cling to him. With Anna beside him, fortified by courage, he was ready to confront whatever awaited them in the coming dawn. They would make it together. And before you go to dive deeper into this story, let me remind you, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second. Hit that red button so you don't miss the next exclusive stories filled with intense moments like these. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Your support feeds the algorithm, and it means the world to me. Flood the comments section. Let me know your reactions and theories about what happens next. I want to hear every single thought you have. And for the love of storytelling, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this wild conclusion unfold. This is the moment to show your support. So let us keep this community alive and growing.